Alright guys, I'm out here with my dog, and I've been working on establishing a base camp. Something I wanted to be reminiscent of an early mountain man, something that would be a survival type shelter, primitive, and I wanted it to be a base camp that in the event that I wanted to bring students out to show them what they could do with minimal tools, or as a classroom type area, that I'd have something already pre-established that I could come out to practice my own skills, and then also bring people out to teach them. So what I've done is over the course of 3 days or so, as I had time, I came out and worked on building a decent primitive shelter. So I'm going to be doing a overnight by myself, solo, and I'm just going to work on building up my base camp. Plan on working on a camp kitchen area. Also just going to practice some skills. As you can see, I'm sitting on this box here of tools. I'm going to go over that with you as well, but I'm going to do a couple videos while I'm out here over this weekend, and show you my base camp, show you what I'm doing, show you what tools I brought out here with me, and show you my shelter. So this video here, I'm going to start off with just showing you the shelter that I built, how I got it set up, and just keep you informed of what I'm going to be doing. So let me get the camera in hand, and I'll give you a little closer look to the shelter. Stay with me, I'll be right back. Alright guys, as you can see here, this would be the front of the shelter. I have a wall built right here, and I have a vent in that top left corner, as well as I left that very top piece open as well. I plan on weaving a door at some point in time. Right now most everything's dead and I don't have a lot of grasses nearby. I'm in the middle of a pine type forest, and so no real open fields for grasses, so I used a military issue poncho liner right now as a temporary door. So as you can see, all my ridge poles, my beams, everything is made out of pine. I think the smallest one up there is probably about 3 inches in diameter, and the biggest is pushing 6. So we'll take a look over here at the side. So what I did, if you see right here on the top, after I established my A-frame, I ran these poles straight up and down, and they're braced between the pole of the roof and a much larger log at the bottom. That one is probably 14 inches plus in diameter. So just like building a house, a good foundation makes it easier when you're building a wall. So I ran these these poles straight up and down, and they're just braced by really a fiction fit. There's no lashings, no rope, no nothing needed on those poles because they're forced against that and on the back side of that log. And then I took logs and ran a secondary wall right here stacked up the side. So that airspace right there, I'm blocking off a lot of that would be coming in from any winds, and adding that extra layer of insulation. The only thing I used, and you can probably see, is I took a cord here, wrapped it around a couple of them, and a cord there and wrapped it around a couple of them. It goes to a solid pole that's tied off and secure. Now on the back side of the shelter, again being in a piney area, I have a lot of pine needles accessible to me, and so the back side of this shelter is leaf debris, pine needles, just a debris type roof. When I initially done that, I was pushing 2 foot. It has since settled over the course of the week. I think it's been since I was out here last. We've had a couple of rains. I did come out here in the rain and get under the shelter in a steady sprinkle, not a downpour, and I had no leaks, but it's since compressed. What I did after I did the ridge pole are all these roof beams, we'll call them. I went over it with branches to cover up the gaps, and then I did all the leaf litter and pine needles. So that is, right now, is probably about a solid 6 inches thick after it has been compressed. I plan on adding more to it while I'm out here, but it's not really supposed to rain this weekend, so I'm not overly worried about it right now. Here's the other side, and again, I use the exact same method. And as you can see from the smoke coming out this side, we're going to take a look on the inside. Well, let me show you what I did here. So I already had this live tree right here. So what I did was I ran this green tree, I beat it into the ground, and then I tied it off to my main ridgepole, which left a gap. And so it left me room to stack my pieces in there. And I did the same thing here. This one is a main brace that comes up, and it has a fork to add a little support in the middle to help support the weight of the roof. And then I added another pole on the back side, beat it into the ground, tied it to that fork, and that gave me a slot on both sides to slide these poles in. Something else I did to keep from that middle brace from sliding out is I carved a stake and I beat it in front of my pole to keep it from kicking out from me. So again, here's my poncho liner, and what we'll do is we'll take a look inside. Alright, so inside the shelter, as you see here, I have a Thermarest Thermarest sleeping pad, and then I just have a recycled material moving blanket. That's what that is right there. I have a Hudson Bay 100% wool twin blanket, and then that one there is a military issue 90% wool blanket. And then this one right here is just a heavier Afghan poncho type blanket that is very thick. So my plan was to use the 100%, put this one over top of me, use that wool blanket as a pillow, and if I need it, I can cover up with it. And then I put my gear right here at the end. Then I have right here a fireplace. So what I done was I dug down about a foot in this corner, and then I added rocks around it, and then these rocks that are on the back are flatter and taller to help protect my wood. And then I also, all the dirt that I piled from this hole, I packed in the back and around all the cracks of those 3 rocks. So right now I'm getting my first burn in to get a bed of coals. It's probably why it's smoking a lot, simply because of the moisture from the ground. This is the first burn in with fresh coals in there. So let me adjust the camera. I'm going to lay down over here and give you kind of an idea of the size. Alright guys, don't know how well you can see me here, but my head is on my wool blanket. I have about a good foot of clearance from my head to this initial beam. If I wanted to scoot over more, I obviously would have more clearance, but I wanted to tuck this back into the corner. If I had a workspace here, I'm going to bring my toolbox in as well and use as like a nightstand. I have an oil lamp in here I'm going to be using, plan on doing some reading, and I also have a project I wanted to do with some moccasins, so plan on doing that. So I'm back here in this corner, seems pretty warm, pretty comfortable, really kind of homey, feels log cabinish. Even though it's not a huge space, it is really enough space for one person.